More high-level trade talks with China set for later this week in Beijing, and reports that Trump may meet with sketchy reports, may meet with Xi Jinping next month at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Christian Whiton is with us. Now, he's a former State Department guy and an advisor for both the Trump and Bush administrations. But you, sir, you're not confident about a deal. Explain yourself.
Right. I think the market has priced in a deal, but it's less likely than meets the eye. What I'm told by people who are either involved in or close to negotiations is that the Chinese are offering something, but it's not the systemic change that frankly, our law requires under Section 301, on which tariffs were based, and which Trump has demanded. So they've offered a package of goodies, LNG, grain, soybeans, things that would temporarily reduce the trade deficit. But they're asking us to meet them halfway on things like IP theft and cyber attacks, which is very impossible to do. And they're also sort of asking that we accept their word on this when in fact they've broken their word a number of times.
A fair point, Christian, but I would suggest that any meeting between President Trump and Xi Jinping means that there is a deal of sorts, and that there could be a lot of verification down the road, but a meeting is unlikely to end in absolute failure, both sides walking away angry. If they agree to a meeting, they won't walk away angry. That is a plus. What do you say?
I'd say under the rules of a customary presidency, that's true. You sort of, when you get to a meeting of the leaders, you can't fail. But President Trump, to his credit, is willing to walk away from lousy deals, an example being the G7 summit in Canada, where it was a wholly unsatisfactory outcome. They thought they could sort of frog march him into an agreement, and he said no. I think on one level, President Trump, and I'm just guessing, really wants to get to a deal. To said he made the biggest deal in the world with China. On the other hand, his competitiveness means he can't accept an inferior deal. He can't accept something that he knows in his heart means that China will continue to get away with its cyber attacks, its theft of IP, its mercantilism. I think it could go either way. I'm not saying a deal is impossible. I'm just saying the market has overestimated its probability.
I just think that there could be a meeting, and that meeting, you'll see smiles and handshakes, an agreement for the Chinese to buy a couple of $100 billion worth of American products, and then an agreement to fix this problem with stolen intellectual property down the road. And President Trump will say, that's okay, we're going to verify this down the road. Meanwhile, handshake, market goes up. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't think that works. I mean, the Chinese, for example, promised not to militarize the South China Sea, and then they did. They promised President Obama to stop cyber attacking our companies, and our intelligence community can see them still doing that every day. It's always the question. It's the same with North Korea as well. Do you take their word and forego sanctions or tariffs or economic punishment and then say we're going to put this on later if you don't comply? Or do you say we need to see compliance first and then we'll forego the tariffs or sanctions? And because these tariffs are predicated not on a big trade deficit, but on Section 301, the theft of intellectual property, it's sort of hard to say. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's hard to say, well, you're buying some Boeings and soybeans, so we're going to give you a pass for now, and then we'll come back later and cream you. So it's unclear what will happen. I just think it's more of a coin toss than people think.
Will you agree with this? No other president has come anywhere near as close as President Trump to fixing the relationship on trade.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental turning point, and there's no going back. And it's a very important shift in world history.
Christian Whiton, thanks very much for joining us. See you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.